School years, the time of childhood excitements and promise, but for many, the hardest time in life.
People were telling me that I was dumb and I couldn't do anything correctly.
I felt embarrassed at sometimes. Why can't I read?
I know the answer, but then when I say it, it won't come out the way I was thinking.
It's just hard. You just keep trying and trying and trying, and you get tired doing it.
For 1 in 5 Americans, learning is a special struggle. A struggle that often has serious consequences.
So I can't take this anymore.
And when he said, I just shouldn't be alive, I said, this child does not have to go through this.
Tonight, a deeply personal look inside 5 American families trying to solve the puzzling mysteries of their children's misunderstood minds.
Funding for misunderstood.
Learning disability, a diagnosis that fills any parent with dread. At one time, it meant you had a lost child and no clear means of rescue. I know. One of my own children has struggled with a serious learning problem. It seemed the best worried parents could do was hold our breath and hope that somehow our child got through school. Now that has changed thanks to a comprehensive new approach. Learning specialists have figured out something quite profound yet simple. Each of us thinks and learns differently, sometimes with dramatic consequences. And research is zeroing in on precisely what's happening with those of our children who have trouble in school. Now, teachers and parents have more strategies to help. Tonight, we're going to meet 5 families who have let us follow them through this journey for the last 3 years. We begin with the story of a bright, articulate little boy who everybody figured would own the world one day. Nathan Van Hoy lives near Raleigh, North Carolina.
All boy, running, playing, imitating, laughing, giggling, playing with the dog, wrestling with the dog, riding the dog.
They say you can either die on the field or die in the bleachers, and he'll always be on the field. That's Nathan. He's always going to jump in and take part.
And Nathan's parents were determined to give him just the right head start.
Nathan had had a lot of experiences with museums and traveling and a lot of opportunities that made him very worldly. His communication skills were far ahead of the other children.
He was a leader among his friends and a standout athlete.
Okay, so we'll get Ryan to kick it into us. We block.
And Nathan loved to read. His parents had little doubt that in school, their son would be a star.
Put the plan in action. Oh.
Then his first grade teacher called.
The first week of school, he didn't know the alphabet. His phonics just wasn't there, and while I worked with him and worked with him and worked with him, right. He couldn't hear the sounds.
Nathan, the boy who said he loved books, couldn't really read. His parents couldn't believe it.
How could this be? How can we not do basics if we can do overachievement kind of things? And I think it's probably the hardest thing any parent can hear is that your child's not average, when of course you think that they're maybe even exceptional.
Yeah, go ahead. Get out in the field.
But deep down inside, Nathan knew something was not right.
It's just hard. You just keep trying and trying and trying, and you get tired doing it.
Nathan was already aware that he was not reading on the same level that his peers were. He was very concerned with being judged or being held to the same standards that his peers are.
Eventually, the school tested Nathan. The results were shocking.
We were profoundly deficient. We were like below D's. And it was very hard to understand how he could express himself and be so articulate and yet score so low on the test. And I guess I sort of took it as a grain of salt, because here was a highly functional child who couldn't possibly be. It had to be He was tired that day. They tested him in an uncomfortable area. There was a stranger that came in and tested him and he didn't know. Just all these things that could contribute to the low scores.
But they sound like they could be excuses as well.
Well, I'm the mom. It wasn't what I wanted to hear.
But it was a wake-up call. Lois decided to take a closer look.
I would sit beside him on the couch and he would be reading up a storm. And I stopped and I looked at him. And his eyes were not in the book, but into this next room. He had memorized the entire book.
It was a startling revelation. This child was able to camouflage his deficiency by marshaling an innate strength, memorizing. By now, his parents knew they had a real problem, and they reacted as most parents do, with a containment response. They would try to control Nathan's problem by reaching for the nearest available remedy. And in his case, that meant accepting the school's prescription. Nathan would have to repeat the first grade.
To his ego, it was very, very difficult. There were several times when we would see people out and they'd say, Nathan, how old are you? What grade are you in? And he would say, I'm in second grade, when he knew he was still in first.
Nathan got through the first grade this time, and his mom hired a tutor to prepare him for the second grade.
2 weeks before school started, Nathan knew what he needed to know according to the tutor. Did great, knew 300 sight words, everything he needed to do to start second grade. 9 weeks into second grade, my child can't read. My child can't do single and double digit math, addition and subtraction. I'm like, how did he forget this in 9 weeks?
Nathan.
In truth, Nathan had not really been succeeding. He had called upon his primary coping skill, memorization, to make his way through the familiar work of the first grade and the early weeks of the second. But when he encountered new material, he just could not do it. Nathan's parents now knew it was time to move beyond mere containment. At the University of North Carolina Medical School is one of the nation's leading medical experts on learning problems, Professor of Pediatrics Mel Levine.
You can.
Dr. Levine founded All Kinds of Minds to investigate the way the wiring of the brain affects a child's ability to learn.
That has the word car in it. Open your mouth and stick your tongue out. Try to stay like that till I tell you to stop.
Dr. Levine has come to believe merely testing for ADD or dyslexia is not enough and unnecessarily labels kids.
We're going to all go get some coffee. You just stay like that for a while. We're going to play catch with this little squad.
His complex testing is designed to identify very specific neurological weaknesses as well as strengths.
That was excellent. I'm going to show you some patterns with my fingers.
In 33 different tasks, Dr. Levine looks for clues to how Nathan's brain is wired.
Jar.
In time, Dr. Levine zeroes in on Nathan's areas of weakness.
And then I'd say 3. Okay. Now I have a really interesting game. It's a rhyming game. So I'll give you a word. Hot.
Hate.
Mm-hmm. Does that rhyme with hot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else?
Nathan's trouble with rhyming indicates a problem with something called phonemic awareness.
Does mate rhyme with hot? How about got?
It's an innate ability to distinguish among the different sounds that together create words.
And soup? Phonemic awareness is just this sensitivity that most kids have, that you can take a word like dog and break it into 3 sounds. D, g is dog. Doesn't that sound simple? It's almost not worth saying it sounds so simple, and it is completely elusive to a group of kids who are going to go on and have big league problems learning to read.